Putting a wrap on Notre Dame spring football, courtesy Ben Belden of Slap the Sign here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please lock it in for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Hey, Ben, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, enjoying a little bit of springish type weather here in the Midwest and just getting ready for Easter and that type of thing.
There you go. Same here. Same here. Enjoyed a few days of 65 to 70 degree weather. A bit colder again today, but we're getting there. We are getting there. So Notre Dame hopefully getting there as well, headed toward 2019, coming off the college football playoff appearance. Ian Book is entrenched as the starter. I did see some notes and some comments from Brian Kelly and the coaching staff during the spring season that maybe they wanted him to go downfield a little bit more. Don't know that that's been evident during any of these scrimmages or the actual blue-gold game.
Yeah, I think that's been kind of a major point of emphasis for Notre Dame is that I think all year, if I remember the number correctly, they had 3 passing plays all year that were 50 yards or more. And one of those was like a swing pass that running back took for 50-some yards. So Chip Long has pretty well said that he's embarrassed, and that's the word he used, embarrassed, that they didn't have more chunk plays, especially in the passing game. They had quite a few from the running game, actually, in context. But they want Ian to go down the field a little bit more, challenge himself with some difficult throws. And he did have one throw in the spring game, and I was hoping for maybe like 1 or 2 of these, and I got one, like I say. But one throw in the spring game, a 47-yarder that he just put on a rope, kind of fitted in over the cover 2 to Chase Claypool. That it looked as accurate as a deep ball as I've ever seen Ian Book throw. So I don't know. That's been a major point of emphasis, something that Ian said that he's worked on, and it's a confidence thing, I think, more than anything. And I think that since he's going into the fall practice as the starter, I think probably we'll see some better chemistry with wide receivers and things. So the sky's the limit, I think.
The quarterback position obviously being unique for a number of reasons. One being that it's the only position where you have one of them on the field. So you're either the starter or you're on the bench, and therefore you are the least important person on the roster until there's an injury. Can you set us up for the quarterback situation behind Ian Book and where we stand there?
Kind of one of the major storylines out of the spring game was how not great backup Phil Jakovic looked. He and Trevor Lawrence were 2 of the better quarterbacks in the country coming out of high school before last season, I guess. And he obviously didn't get the opportunity because he was behind Brandon Limbush and then obviously Ian Book. But Notre Dame fans were excited to see him on Saturday, and that excitement didn't last very long because, frankly, he didn't look very good. His numbers ended up being all right. He didn't throw any interceptions or anything, but he looked a little bit inaccurate at times and just took an exorbitant amount of sacks. And it was just sort of apparent that, he was uncomfortable. A couple really bad, just bad throws coming out of his hand. But I don't know. So, the reaction has been that, golly, I hope Ian Book doesn't get hurt. Golly, what's the Notre Dame quarterback situation going to look like if Ian Book goes pro next year? And, just a lot of anxiety, I think, from Notre Dame fans because they expected better from a kid that, threw for 11,000 yards in a good league in Pennsylvania high school football and that type of thing. But, I will say, just to kind of wrap this thought, I suppose, with a caveat that, they've kind of been messing with his throwing motion just a little bit. That's kind of and he was even interviewed after the game and said it's frustrating. He's got a long way to go and he knows he's got to go there. But I don't know. It just wasn't a great look for the backup quarterback on Saturday.
Jeff Armstrong has looked good actually on the field in real games and looked good again on Saturday. I did see him fumble once. The ball punched loose by Jalen Elliott, an up-and-comer on defense, really good player. But there was emphasis and there was talk from the announce booth about there being a screen game unlike no other in recent memory for Notre Dame for a number of reasons. Even though the offensive line has been one of the best in the country the past few years, that they have more athleticism on front along the offensive line. They have versatility at running back that they haven't had in the past, and they think that they're going to have a really strong screen game.
Yeah, I think, some of the better offensive linemen that they've had, 2 years ago, they had really great offensive linemen. Last year, a couple good ones and a couple mediocre ones, guys that, were just having to fill in from some of the, people talk about McGlinchey and Nelson going in the top 10 to last NFL draft, I guess. And so I think, some of those guys really utilized the offseason kind of strength program to get a little, just the offensive linemen weren't able to get out in front of them. So they kind of scrapped that part of their playbook a little bit. They've also now, however, to help that, Jeff Armstrong's a wide receiver turned running back. And like you said, he looks really good. Last year, he started game 1 against Michigan because Dexter Williams was suspended. But, last year you could tell he was kind of a wide receiver playing running back. This year he looks like a running back with, the way his pad level is really good, the way he's running through tackles, falling forward for extra yardage and that type of thing. And he's just got a level of explosion. He's going to look a lot like Dexter Williams out of the backfield, I think, with actually probably better receiving skills, to be honest with you.
We get Ben Belden on the line from Slap the Sign. Join him and the rest of the staff there for Notre Dame football coverage as Brian Kelly and the staff wrapped up the spring season this past Saturday in South Bend. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Lock it in right here. I'll let you survey the field for the rest of the offense, defense, in terms of who stood out for you as we get adjusted to new personnel in 2019. Maybe some guys that we don't know a whole lot about that you like, whatever. It's up to you, Ben. Well, I'll leave it up to you, not just to focus on the spring game, but the entirety of the spring sessions.
Yeah. So offensively, just to kind of put a cap, because really the only group we haven't talked about is the receivers. Just a smaller receiving group this year, I think. Guys more likely to catch short passes and turn them into big gains, and or underneath, or just run past you. They've got some of both. Last year with Miles Boykin, it was kind of more of the go throw it up high and let him go get it type of a thing. Now Notre Dame has a few more receivers that are speed type guys in, Kevin Austin, Lawrence Keys, Braden Lenzy. They ran a couple jet sweep type plays, reverses in the spring game that we haven't really seen since, 2015 with any real effect. So those plays didn't go for big gains, but I'm glad to see they're back as part of the game plan with some of those speedy guys that they've got out there. Defensively, without a doubt, Notre Dame's going to hang their hat on their pass rushers. They've got, dare I say, an embarrassment of riches at especially the defensive end type positions with Julian Okwara, Khalid Kareem, their backups. And there's multiple backups at both positions. Notre Dame has a set of twins, the Adamaloa twins, that played really well in the spring. And just, it's going to be interesting if Notre Dame is able to get teams in passing situations. They can put 4 or 5 real good pass rushers out there at all of the defensive line type and outside backer type positions and really get after the quarterback. But they're going to have to do it on first and second down first. And I think that's kind of the major concern with this Notre Dame football team right now.
Ben, there was also talk during the broadcast that even though that Drew Tranquill and Tevin Coney are large losses at linebacker, that some of the young guys are even more athletic, faster, and that they can go run and hit, and maybe the defense would be a little bit more simplified this year to take advantage of their abilities and not getting into a disadvantage with them trying to figure out the defense and letting them just kind of run and hit. And again, the defense being a little bit more simplistic this year.
You kind of hit the nail on the head that Drew Tranquill and Tavon Coney were, I don't know, just Tranquill had some good, both guys had great athleticism, but I guess when we're talking about linebackers, they were bigger guys, good tacklers, that type of thing. Whereas some of these younger guys, Jordan Genmark Heath, who is kind of going to fill in for Drew Tranquill, is a smaller guy who came down from safety kind of out of necessity to be a backup linebacker last year and is staying in that spot moving forward. Asmar Bilal played that rover position that Notre Dame has, the safety linebacker hybrid. He's an inside guy now too. And I don't know. I think Boy, there are more than 10 guys, let's put it that way, that are in contention to play one of Notre Dame's three linebacker type spots. There's actually probably more like 12 or 13 type of guys. So a lot of those guys are guys who have played the safety position, weren't getting a lot of time at safety and put on a couple pounds and they're moving down inside. A lot of those guys are just underclassmen. One guy, like I say, Genmark, he came from the safety position, and Jack Lamb is a guy that has been hurt, but he was an early enrollee last year, and people are anxious to see what he's going to do this year as well. So just some inexperience there, but like you said, ton of athleticism.
All right. We encourage you to check out Ben Belden and the rest of the staff there at Slap the Sign, covering Notre Dame football and athletics across the board, as the Irish pack it in for the rest of the summer, at least in regards to official workouts and practices, and get us set for August camp. Ben, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.